welcome to I Love This Thing So Frigging Much, a podcast about passion. My name is Sophie Katz, and today I am joined by Michelle, a veterinary student at Cornell University. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thanks for having me, Sophie.
Well, thanks for being here. So, here's how this works. Michelle will have 3 minutes to talk about something that she loves. This can be a person, place, thing, concept, activity, anything she wants. Our only requirement is that she loves it wholeheartedly and wants to tell us why. Are you ready, Michelle?
Absolutely.
Great. Got my timer here. Now, what do you love so frigging much?
From a young age, I've always loved dolphins. They're highly intelligent and just fascinating creatures. And there's so much that we can learn from these animals. And my goal as a veterinarian and scientist is to help people of all ages and generations to continue to be as excited about them as I am. So that's why today, instead of just specifically looking at dolphins, I'd like to talk with you all about the Vaquita porpoise. Vaquita are marine mammals that live in the Gulf of California. They're gray in color and have a distinct dark ring around each eye. As of today, they're the most endangered marine mammal in the world and likely one of the next species that the world's going to watch go extinct. Between 1997 and 2019, their estimated population dropped from approximately 600 to fewer than 20 individuals. Many of these animals were killed by gill nets, which are essentially like walls of netting that fishermen place and leave out in the water column to catch fish. However, the decline of the vaquita, it's not just due to the average fisherman trying to make a living. Rather, it's what's called bycatch, which is the unintended and unwanted fish and other creatures that are caught during fishing. Now, the issue facing the vaquita is that there's an entire cartel of illegal gill net fishing in the Gulf of California aimed at catching a large marine fish known as the tattawaba. The tattawaba's swim bladder, which is the organ that helps the swim stay afloat, which is the organ that a fish uses to stay afloat, can sell for thousands of dollars in Chinese markets. Consequently, despite making gill nets illegal in these waters, people are willing to take the risk in order to secure a large payday. So in response to this, in 2017, Vaquita CPR launched. Vaquita CPR was a bold response aimed at trying to save the vaquita from becoming extinct by bringing the vaquita temporarily into human care until all the gill nets were banned and removed from the habitat. So teams of the most skilled marine mammal scientists and veterinarians spent months in Mexico trying to save and find these species. But unfortunately, despite their best efforts, the plan didn't go as well as intended. They were unsuccessful in securing the safety of the remaining vaquita, meaning that these vaquita are still out in the waters today, vulnerable to the wrath of the gill nets. The reality is really quite sad. And despite the incredible efforts made by some of those brilliant scientists in the world, this species is likely to become extinct in the really near future. So I share this story with you not to create sadness or cause distress, but it's because I love them so much and want to protect them. I share it with you to increase awareness of the problem, and I want to help inform and inspire you to think about what each and every one of us can do to help the vaquita, as well as other species in the world that are currently endangered and facing extinction.
Thank you for coming and telling us about dolphins today.
You're so welcome, Sophie.
Can you tell me, how did you first become aware about the vaquita dolphins and their plight?
So I've been studying the behavior of dolphins down in Sarasota, Florida for the past couple of years, and through my involvement in various organizations, I've been able to follow what are some of the most important and, to me, most intriguing things related in the marine mammal community. And the Vaquita porpoise has really just been one of the common trends for at least the past few years that really requires all of our effort combined as scientists to help save.
Early on in your talk, you mentioned that dolphins are particularly intelligent, and that's something certainly I've heard about dolphins before. Can you talk a little more about that, about dolphins and what sets them apart from other animals?
Sure. So dolphins are considered one of the most intelligent species that we've currently studied. And there's lots of literature and podcasts and various things out there that are documenting their cognitive abilities. So meaning, like, what can they remember? What can they learn? And there's also a lot that we learn about them through their vocalizations. They definitely have a way of communicating not only between each other, but also with us. So there's a lot of really great resources out there for any of you who are listening who's interested in learning more about how dolphins, what they're capable of, how they communicate, how they forage, all of those great things.
Absolutely. Speaking of learning more, do you have any suggestions for how people can learn more about the Vaquita dolphins and maybe how we can help them?
Yeah, so for those of you listening today, if this story interested you and you'd like to learn a little bit more about the Vaquita and the rescue efforts, as well as some of the political issues surrounding the illegal trade of the tabuada fish, I highly recommend that you watch a documentary called Sea of Shadows. It was produced by Leonardo DiCaprio, and the documentary really opens your eyes to the problems facing the Vaquita, as well as the risks that hundreds of people are taking in order to save the species from extinction.
Thank you. You didn't mention this, but I know that you have worked with dolphins and other marine animals in the past. Do you have any memories or stories that you would like to share about your experiences of working with these animals you care about so much?
Yeah, I've worked in a number of facilities across the United States so far, working with dolphins in managed care facilities, sometimes focused on research, sometimes just focused on veterinary care. I've also been able to work with dolphins in wild settings, studying their population, as well as working with rescue and rehab teams as well. And I think working with these animals in all of the different types of settings and places really just shows like we were talking about before, how smart they are, but also how much we can learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't necessarily have one specific instance, just because every instance and every day that I get to work with these animals is like a new day, because they are individuals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people see them as oh, they're just dolphins, but really each dolphin is an individual, which comes with its own unique personality, its own medical history. And so as a veterinarian, or as a future veterinarian, I'm excited to see what medical history do you bring, but also as a scientist, as a behaviorist, I'm interested in who are you as an individual, what experience do I get to have with you today. And so it's really just when I look at their face, and if you've ever looked at a dolphin, their rostrum, which is their bottlenose part, it looks like they're always smiling. And it's definitely not the case. They have a range of emotions per se, and so they can, they're not always happy despite the look of it, but it is hard when you look at them and they're smiling at you not to just smile back.
Absolutely. We get to share this world with a lot of interesting creatures.
Yeah.
Michelle, thank you so much for telling us about something you love today.
You're welcome, Sophie. And thank you to everyone who listened too. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Vaquita, and you definitely watched the documentary Sea of Shadows.
Absolutely. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in today. If you would like to learn more about dolphins and what Michelle told us today, you can find some helpful social media information in the episode description. And don't forget to use the hashtag #LoveThisThingCast to tell us about the things you love. I Love This Thing So Frigging Much is a production of Through the Window Media. This episode was directed by Sophie A. Katz and edited by Melissa Block. You can find us at Through the Window on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. That is THROU the Window at all those social media sites. Be good to yourself, be kind to each other, and you'll hear from us again soon.